Well, thieves are finding new ways to steal your money.
Data from the FBI shows an alarming fraud trend that involves ATMs that specialize in cryptocurrency transactions like Bitcoin. Simon Schuessler spoke with security experts to help you protect your wallet.
You walk up to an ATM, put your card in, punch in your PIN, and walk away with cash. You have done it 1,000 times. It feels completely routine. What you do not know is that someone may have already been at that machine before you, and they left something behind specifically for you. ATM scams have evolved so dramatically in the past 2 years that banks are now refusing to reimburse victims, arguing the customer was negligent. Today we are counting down 12 things you need to know about the new ATM scams, draining accounts, and leaving victims with absolutely nothing. Number 1 will change the way you look at every ATM you ever use again. Let us get into it. Number 12. The scale of ATM fraud right now. ATM fraud in the United States costs consumers and financial institutions over $1 billion annually, and that figure climbs every single year. The most recent data from the Federal Reserve's payments fraud research confirms that card-present fraud at ATMs remains one of the fastest-growing categories of financial crime, even as banks pour resources into digital fraud prevention. What makes the current wave particularly damaging is not just the theft itself, it is the reimbursement problem. Traditional ATM fraud typically falls under Regulation E protections, which require your bank to cover unauthorized transactions if you report them promptly. You can read the specifics at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Regulation E overview. The new generation of ATM scams are designed specifically to sidestep those protections by tricking you into voluntarily performing the transaction yourself. The bank's position in many of these cases is that because you physically initiated the withdrawal, it was not unauthorized. The result is that victims lose real money with almost no recourse. The FTC's Fraud Data Explorer shows that bank impersonation and ATM-related fraud have surged dramatically since 2021, with median losses per victim climbing year over year. Understanding the reimbursement gap is the foundation for everything else on this list. Part of what makes this so frustrating for victims is that the gap between what happened to them and what the bank is willing to cover has grown wider as scam techniques have evolved. Banks are not necessarily being unreasonable in a legal sense. The law genuinely does not require them to cover transactions you initiated, even if you were manipulated into doing so. That is a consumer protection gap that regulators are still debating how to close, and until they do, the burden of prevention falls entirely on you. The reason that gap exists comes down to one thing: the scams have gotten smarter. Starting with the most physically invasive method, which is what number 11 is all about. Number 11. Card skimmers. Still the most widespread ATM attack. A skimmer is a device placed over or inside the card reader slot of an ATM. When you insert your card, it reads and records your magnetic stripe data. A separate component, usually a pinhole camera or a fake keypad overlay, captures your PIN at the same time. Within hours, criminals have everything needed to clone your card and drain your account elsewhere. The reason skimming has persisted despite chip card technology is that ATM transactions still rely heavily on the magnetic stripe. Many machines at gas stations, convenience stores, and standalone locations still process transactions using the stripe, and that data is trivially easy to clone. The Secret Service, which leads federal ATM fraud investigations, has documented skimmers so precisely manufactured they match the exact color and texture of specific ATM models, with some installed entirely inside the machine and invisible from the outside. Before inserting your card, wiggle the card reader. A legitimate reader does not move. If there is any wobble or movement, walk away and report it. Also check for anything that does not sit flush with the machine: extra plastic, mismatched texture, or hardware near the keypad that looks added rather than factory molded. This check takes 10 seconds and defeats the most common physical attacks. If you spot a suspected skimmer, do not try to remove it yourself. Call the bank's number on the ATM frame and then call local non-emergency police to report it. Leaving the device in place gives investigators the best chance of catching whoever comes back to retrieve it, which is how many of these operations get shut down. Skimming is the established method. What is happening now with shimming is a completely different level of attack that most people have never heard of. That is number 10. Number 10. Shimming, the chip card attack. Nobody warned you about. A shim is an extremely thin device, roughly the thickness of a sheet of paper, inserted directly into the card reader slot. When you insert your chip card, the shim sits between your card and the reader and intercepts the chip data as it transmits. It cannot capture the dynamic transaction code that makes chip purchases secure at retail terminals, but it captures enough card data to create a magnetic stripe clone that works at older ATMs. Shims are nearly impossible to detect from the outside because they sit inside the slot rather than on top of it. You will not feel any resistance inserting your card. The machine functions completely normally. The Krebs on Security blog, one of the most respected sources on financial cybercrime, has documented shimming operations where organized groups repeatedly targeted the same ATMs because the location's maintenance schedule made reinsertion of devices practical. The behavioral defense is the same as for skimming. Use ATMs inside bank branches during staffed hours. These machines are monitored, maintained consistently, and any tampering is far more likely to be caught quickly. Standalone machines at gas stations and convenience stores are the most frequently targeted. Physical hardware is one attack surface. The fastest growing ATM scam category right now does not require touching the machine at all. That is number 9. Number 9, the ATM cash-out scam, when the fraud happens remotely. This is the scam category that banks are least likely to reimburse, and the one with the sharpest increase in victim reports over the past 2 years. A criminal does not need physical access to any hardware. They need your account credentials and your cooperation, which they get through social engineering. You receive a call that appears to come from your bank's fraud department. The caller ID matches your bank's real number. A calm, professional voice tells you that unauthorized withdrawals are happening on your account right now. They walk you through what sounds like a security verification process. At some point, they have captured enough. Your account number, your online banking password, or a one-time passcode your bank just texted you. From there, they log into your account themselves or use your active banking session to initiate withdrawals while you are still on the phone. Every transaction looks, from the bank's perspective, exactly like you made it. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center annual report consistently ranks this category among the top fraud types by total dollar losses. Filing a report with the IC3 promptly helps investigators identify patterns across cases. One specific thing to understand about this scam: your bank will never ask you to read back a one-time passcode that they just sent you. That passcode exists solely to verify that you are the one making a change to your account. The moment someone on an incoming call asks for that code, you are in the middle of an account takeover. Hang up immediately. Hit that subscribe button right now because what we are covering in number 8 is something your bank specifically does not advertise. Number 8. The fake ATM. Entire machines being placed by criminals. A fake ATM is exactly what it sounds like. Criminals install a machine that looks identical to a legitimate ATM in a location where people expect to find one. A mall corridor, a hotel lobby, a convenience store entrance. The machine is functional enough to accept your card and ask for your PIN. It then returns your card, displays an out-of-service or insufficient funds error, and captures everything it needs to clone your card in the process. You walk away thinking the machine malfunctioned. Within hours, your card has been cloned and your account is being drained elsewhere. Because you never received cash and the machine appeared to have a technical error, your first assumption is not fraud, which delays the report. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network has issued warnings about organized groups deploying fake machines in high-foot traffic locations, often during weekends when bank staff are less available. The protection is straightforward. Use machines you have a reason to trust. A bank-branded ATM inside a bank branch is the safest option. Machines at locations that are not financial institutions, particularly ones that appear recently placed, lack a posted customer service number, or are not bolted to a wall or permanent fixture, deserve a second look. Legitimate ATMs are built to stay put. A machine that could plausibly be wheeled away overnight is a machine worth avoiding. Even features designed to make ATMs more convenient have been turned into attack tools. That is what number 7 is about. Number 7. The QR code ATM scam. New feature, instant exploit. Banks have been rolling out QR code functionality at ATMs as a cardless withdrawal option. Scan a code at the machine with your banking app, authorize the transaction on your phone, collect the cash without inserting a card. For people worried about skimmers, it seemed like a genuine improvement. Criminals exploited it almost immediately. In one version, a sticker with a fake QR code is placed over the legitimate one on the ATM. When you scan it, instead of opening your bank's app, it redirects you to a phishing site that captures your banking credentials. In the more damaging version, the scam is entirely remote. Someone contacts you claiming to be from your bank and sends you a QR code to scan at an ATM to resolve a fraud issue. That code initiates a transfer out of your account. The AARP Fraud Watch Network has documented this specific variation extensively, noting that victims often do not realize they sent money until hours later. The rule is simple: only interact with QR codes that are part of the ATM's own screen display. Never scan a code sent to you by anyone claiming to represent your bank. No legitimate bank will ever ask you to scan a QR code at an ATM to resolve an account issue. Drop a comment below and tell us whether your local ATM already has QR code functionality. We want to know how widespread the rollout is. Number 6. Shoulder surfing. The simplest attack with the highest success rate. It is genuinely surprising how much money is stolen every year through the most basic possible method. Someone standing nearby and watching you enter your PIN. Shoulder surfing requires no hardware or software. It requires one person at a slightly offset angle while you use an ATM, paying attention to your hands. Some operations use a phone camera held casually near the keypad to record the input. In busier locations, a two-person team works together, with one member creating a distraction and the other observing. Once they have your PIN, they need your card. This is sometimes paired with pickpocketing, sometimes with a distraction at the ATM itself at the exact moment you are completing your transaction. In still other cases, the PIN observation is combined with skimming at the same machine, so the card data and the PIN are captured in a single visit. Banks almost never reimburse shoulder surfing losses because the correct PIN was entered and the physical card was present. From the bank's system, it looks like a completely normal transaction with no fraud signal to trigger a review. The National Crime Prevention Council recommends standing close to the machine so your body shields the keypad and using your free hand to cover the keypad while typing. This defeats shoulder surfing and hidden cameras simultaneously, which makes it one of the highest return habits on this list. The scam in number 5 is generating more victim complaints to the FTC right now than almost anything else on this list, and it is also the one banks push back hardest on when victims try to get reimbursed. Number 5. The bank impersonation ATM scam. The one banks refuse to cover. The setup begins with a call. The caller ID shows your bank's name and real number. A professional voice tells you that your account has been compromised and that unauthorized withdrawals are already happening. To stop them, you need to act right now. They walk you through what sounds like a security process, then tell you that to fully protect your funds, you need to withdraw your balance and deposit it into a secure holding account the bank has set up for this exact situation. They direct you to a specific ATM. They stay on the line. They may tell you not to mention this to any bank staff nearby because the investigation is sensitive. You withdraw your money and either hand it to a courier who arrives, deposit it to an account number they provide, or buy gift cards and read back the codes. Every step was you making a voluntary transaction. The bank's legal position, which is held up in many disputes, is that you were deceived rather than hacked, and those are legally different categories. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's guidance on authorized push payment fraud explains this distinction clearly. The American Bankers Association's Fraud Resources acknowledges this as one of the hardest categories for consumers to recover from. The single most important thing to remember: no legitimate bank will ever ask you to withdraw cash to protect it. Not ever. If someone on the phone tells you to go to an ATM to secure your money, that is the scam, regardless of what the caller ID shows. Number 4. ATM trapping devices. When your card gets physically stolen. A card trap is a device inserted into the card reader slot that physically holds your card inside the machine after you insert it. The ATM appears to malfunction. Your card does not return. A helpful stranger nearby who is part of the operation tells you that re-entering your PIN usually releases the card. You enter your PIN. The stranger observes it. You give up and leave to call your bank. The stranger retrieves the card with a tool they already have and now has your physical card and your PIN. A related version is the cash trap, where a device placed over the cash dispenser slot catches your bills before they reach you. You assume the machine malfunctioned and call your bank. The criminal retrieves the cash after you walk away. The European Association for Secure Transactions, which tracks ATM physical attacks globally, has documented these methods as persistent tools of organized crime groups operating across multiple countries. The protective response is counterintuitive. If your card does not return, do not take advice from anyone standing nearby. Call the bank number printed on the ATM frame immediately while still at the machine and ask them to block the card before you leave. Do not re-enter your PIN under any circumstances once you suspect something is wrong. Share this video with someone who uses ATMs regularly. What is coming up in number 3 is one of the fastest growing fraud categories in the country and the one generating the most new complaints to consumer protection agencies right now. Number 3, the cryptocurrency ATM scam, a completely different machine. Cryptocurrency ATMs have spread to gas stations, grocery stores, pharmacies, and laundromats across the country. They accept cash, they allow you to purchase cryptocurrency, and for scammers, they are the perfect tool for one specific reason. Transactions are irreversible. The moment you feed cash into a crypto ATM and confirm the transaction, that money cannot be clawed back by your bank, by law enforcement, or by anyone else. There is no dispute process and no Regulation E protection. The scam works like this. A criminal contacts you by phone claiming to be from the government, law enforcement, a utility company, or tech support. They create urgency. You owe back taxes that must be paid immediately to avoid arrest. Your utility is being shut off today, your computer has been compromised. They direct you to a cryptocurrency ATM and walk you through the process step by step while staying on the phone. According to the FTC's Consumer Alert on crypto ATM scams, losses to these scams have risen dramatically, with victims losing an average of $10,000 per incident. The rule is absolute. No government agency, no utility company, no tech support service, and no bank will ever ask you to pay anything using a cryptocurrency ATM. If anyone directs you to one of these machines for any reason, hang up. Number 2, ATM jackpotting. When the machine itself gets attacked. Jackpotting targets the ATM rather than you directly, but it belongs on this list because it reveals just how organized and well-resourced the criminal enterprises behind ATM fraud actually are. In a jackpotting attack, criminals gain physical access to an ATM, often by posing as service technicians, and connect a device to the machine's internal computer. They install malware that overrides the cash dispensing logic, causing the machine to eject all of its cash on command, while a second person stands at the machine and collects the bills. The technique migrated from Asia and Europe to the United States several years ago. The Secret Service has issued multiple alerts about jackpotting targeting ATMs across the country, noting that standalone non-bank machines are particularly vulnerable because they often run outdated software and receive less frequent security maintenance than machines owned by major financial institutions. You are not a direct victim of jackpotting, but you are an indirect one. When machines are drained, losses are passed on through higher fees and tighter reimbursement policies across the board. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network's advisories page maintains current guidance on jackpotting for financial institutions. Understanding that organized criminal enterprises with real technical capabilities are operating against this infrastructure is part of understanding why the protective steps in number 1 matter as much as they do. Everything we have covered gives you the full picture. Number 1 is the section that actually changes what happens to you. Number 1, the protective steps that actually work. We have covered 12 ways criminals attack you at or through ATMs. This section is the one that matters most, because knowing the threats only helps if you have a practical response to each one. The first habit is choosing the right machine. Bank-owned ATMs inside bank branches during staffed hours are the safest option. They are monitored, maintained consistently, and staff are immediately available if something goes wrong. The further you move from that model, the higher your exposure to every attack type on this list. The second habit is the physical inspection before every use. Wiggle the card reader before inserting your card. A legitimate reader does not move. Look for anything that does not sit flush with the machine. Extra plastic, mismatched texture, edges that look added rather than molded. Check for small holes near the keypad that are not part of the original design. The FDIC's consumer guidance on ATM safety includes a detailed checklist. The whole inspection takes 10 seconds and defeats the most common hardware attacks. The third habit is covering your PIN every single time without exception. Use your free hand or your wallet to shield the keypad while you type. This defeats shoulder surfing and hidden cameras simultaneously. It is the single highest return physical behavior on this list. The fourth step is enabling real-time transaction alerts. Set your bank to notify you by text or push notification for every transaction on your account. If your card is compromised, you will know within seconds of the first unauthorized transaction rather than discovering the damage days later. Speed of detection is the most important factor in limiting your total losses and in building the documentation you need for any reimbursement dispute. The fifth step is knowing your rights under Regulation E before you need them. Your bank is required to investigate reported unauthorized transactions and provisionally credit your account within 10 business days. The critical word is unauthorized. If you made the transaction yourself under false pretenses, that protection may not apply, which is why reporting immediately and framing the report accurately matters so much. The full regulation is available at the CFPB's Regulation E resource page. The sixth step is knowing exactly where to report. Your first call is to your bank to freeze the card and open a dispute. Your second report goes to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. If the fraud involved someone impersonating your bank, also file with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. If you lost money to a crypto ATM scam, the CFPB's complaint portal is an additional avenue, particularly if your bank is improperly denying a legitimate reimbursement claim. The last step is the one most people skip. Talk about this with the people in your life. A brief conversation about what the bank impersonation call sounds like and why no bank will ever ask you to withdraw cash to protect it is genuinely protective for the people around you. The person most likely to fall for these scams is not someone uninformed in general. It is someone who has simply never heard the specific script before. That is every ATM scam you need to know about right now, and more importantly, exactly what to do about each one. Share this with someone who uses ATMs regularly, because this information is worth more than any fraud alert their bank will ever send them. Click the video on your left where we break down the 10 banking restrictions hitting seniors that most people have absolutely no idea exist. I will see you there.